Hello everyone. Before we go deeper in project management learning, we need to know some basic concepts. In this lecture, I want to introduce some new terms to you. I want to talk about the concept of a project, the key features of a project, the relationship between a corporate strategy and a project management. Then I want to talk about the characteristics an experienced or successful project manager should have. Lastly, I want to use a case study to wrap up the lecture. I want to talk about if iPhone 5C, 5S, a successful project of Apple. By the way, throughout this semester, I will talk about a number of case studies. They are real-world projects. In the discussion, I do not endorse or blame any product, any brand, any company, or anybody mentioned in the discussion. The case studies are only for academic learning purpose. There are several ways to define a project. From a layman's perspective, a project can be defined as a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a product, a service, or some kind of result. From a business process management perspective, a project is a sequence of interrelated management activities, from establishing a business goal to the completion of the goal. You can also define project management from a business administration perspective. It is an activity that breaks down a project long-term strategies into executable activities. No matter how you define a project, you need to pay attention to two key features of a project management process. First, a project has a life. It starts from the planning of a project, and finally, we need to close down the project. No matter the project lasts for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, or even 100 years, someday we need to close down a project. The time period between starting a project to the closing down a project is called a project management life cycle. Usually, a project management life cycle consists of 5 major steps. Later in this semester, we will talk about some details of the 5 steps. Here you need to know the 5 major step components. They are initiating stage, planning stage, executing stage, monitoring and controlling stage. Finally, we need to close down the project. We need to do different activities in different stages. They have different focuses. For instance, if I want to develop a mobile app, this will be my project, right? In the initiating stage, I need to answer several questions. Is there any interest from the sponsor, from the user in this mobile app? If I propose this mobile app project to the investors, will they invest money into my project? After I finish the mobile app, will the future users adopt or use my project? These are the questions you want to answer in the initiating stage. In the planning stage, you need to look for the resources required for completing a project. For instance, when you develop this mobile app, you want to answer the questions: who will develop the app for me? Who are the graphical designers? Who are the programmers? Who will be the marketing managers for promoting my app? These are the questions you want to answer in the planning stage. The executing, monitoring, and controlling stage, they are interrelated. During these stages, you want to transform your plan, your design into a real product. Also, there could be a difference between your plan and the reality. If your plan doesn't work out, you want to do some adjustment on the activities during the executing, monitoring, and controlling stage, so that the final product or service from your project can satisfy the customer's needs in the future. Finally, we have the closing stage. One of the most important activities during this stage is to summarize the success and failure experiences from the current project, archive them so that you can use them for the next project management. The second key feature of a project management is that it requires a great deal of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques. So a project manager's expertise plays a very important role in a successful project management. This is especially important in the high-tech project management, such as IT projects, medical research projects, and so on. If you look at those fields, you can find a very interesting phenomenon. Many of the project managers in those fields are not from business schools. They are either from engineering schools or medical schools. The reason is, a project manager can only share his or her visions with the team members, motivate them to work together to accomplish the goal, if the manager understands a field himself or herself. Since we just talked about the importance of a project manager, let's talk about what characteristics a successful project manager should have. As I mentioned just now, a manager's knowledge is very important. A manager's expertise is the foundation for his or her successful leadership. A project manager should be a goal-oriented or a performance-oriented person. A manager's personal charisma is important as well. It can help the manager to build his or her influences among the team members. A project manager should be able to well communicate with the team members. All of these are characteristics that a successful project manager should have. Later in this semester, I will play a documentary for you. It's called Great Artist Steal. It was an interview with the founders of several giant IT companies, such as Apple, Microsoft, and Oracle. From this movie, you can find all of these successful persons have this kind of characteristics. In the past, I happened to came across with some people. They heard I develop a mobile app, so they came to me for some business advice. One of my most important questions for them is, do you know how to develop a mobile app? Unfortunately, most of the answers I received were a no. I really admire those entrepreneurs' passions about mobile tech. However, I question if they can build a successful mobile app. As a project manager, you don't have to necessarily develop a mobile app on your own, but you do need to know how to develop a mobile app. Only if you have the knowledge in this field, you can accomplish some activities at the strategic level as a leader. For instance, performing a fair feasibility assessment on your project. Develop a reasonable risk management plan, human resource management plan, time management plan, and so on. All of these activities will determine the destiny of your project. In this section, I give an introduction of project management to you. When we come back, I will talk about the relationship between a corporate strategy and a project management. And then we'll talk about the case study on iPhone 5C and 5S. I'll see you soon in the next section.